would be neuroanatomy and physiology. We'll be talking about your central nervous system, and if we can get to peripheral nervous system, that'll be great. But let's start. Okay. All right. So this is going to be our outline for this whole topic. So we're going to be talking about your nervous system, and then we'll first discuss about cells, review about cells, and then the different types of cells involved in the nervous system, and then we're going to be talking about nervous system divided based on location. So you have your central nervous system and you have your peripheral nervous system, and then we're going to talk about nervous system based on function. So again, guys, this is a review. I'm going to try to explain things as fast as I can and as simple as I can. Okay? So based on function, the nervous system is can be divided into like autonomic, somatic, and sensory. So this is our main outline for this lecture and the next one. So let's see. Okay, so let's talk about cells. What are the different cells that's involved in the nervous system? Okay, so again, this is a review. So hope you guys are able to follow. Okay. So we talked about cells, neurons. So, and alam niyo naman, di ba, na ito ang neuron. So you have your cell body right here, your pericardion, your cell body. And then you know that you have dendrites, axons. So that's the three main parts of a neuron. You have your dendrites, your cell body, and you have your axon. We know that for dendrites, these are short, usually branching fibers that's connected to your cell body. And then from the cell body, an axon comes up, like one main long axon you would usually arise from the cell body, and the axon can be myelinated or unmyelinated. Okay, now in case of myelination of axons, as part of the review, those that are myelinated means they have myelin sheath that's covering it, and we know that for faster conduction of impulses, may gaps, on the myelin sheath, and these gaps are called your nodes of Ranvier. And the nodes of Ranvier would basically, so these gaps right here, 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 those are your nodes of Ranvier, and we know that they're the ones responsible for saltatory conduction. So what's saltatory conduction? If you would recall, saltatory conduction would be the jumping of the impulse from one node to the next. Okay, so instead of traveling the entire length of the axon, it's just jumping. So because it's jumping from one node to the next, then you would expect what? Faster conduction of impulse. Okay, so dendrites. Oops. Okay, so dendrites is usually towards the cell body, while axon is away from your neuron cell body. Okay, and we know that the cell body is a typical cell, so it contains your nucleus, you have your other cellular elements in there, and this is your basic neuron. Okay, now in the nervous system, we do have different types of neurons. Okay, this time the different types of neurons are based on the number of processes that it has. So when you talk about unipolar neurons, such as this one, bakit siya unipolar? Because you just have one. you just have one long axon. At the end of the axon, you have your axon terminals right here. That's branching out. But basically, you have one. So because you have one, it's called uni. Do we see this in humans? No. Unipolar neurons are usually seen in invertebrates. Okay? Then, if this is uni, you have one, then you should expect that you have, if you have bipolar, then you have two. Okay? You have two. So you have one process right here, and then you have another process here. So you have two processes, bipolar. So what are examples of some bipolar neurons? Bipolar neurons can be seen in your olfactory, connected to your retina, and even the ganglion of your auditory nerve. So they're composed of bipolar neurons. Okay? And then next type of neuron, according to number of processes, would be your pseudo-unipolar. What does pseudo mean? Pseudo means what? It's like fake, diba? As if there's only one. Now, so for pseudo-unipolar neurons, this is what it looks like. So how would this pseudo-unipolar differ from your unipolar? With the actual unipolar, you literally have just one nerve process extending from your cell body. Okay. Now with the pseudo-unipolar, what happens is you still have one cell body right here, and you have one process extending from your cell body. However, that one process extending from your cell body actually divided into two. So you have one coming out of the cell body, but split into two. That's why you call it your pseudo-unipolar. Now, the pseudo-unipolar neurons, an example of a pseudo-unipolar neurons would be your sensory neurons. Again, sensory, so has anything to do with senses. Pain, touch, temperature, taste, proprioception or pressure. Okay, so the sensory neurons, they're mostly pseudo-unipolar, as what this picture says. So here are your sensory receptors right here. So any stimulus coming from the outside would be received by your sensory receptor. Okay, and this branch right here, or this process right here, would bring the information towards the cell body. And then from the cell body, information is going to be transferred to this peripheral process. Okay, so that's your pseudo-unipolar. Let's see. Yeah, and then last but not the least, you have your multi polar neuron. Bakit siya tinawag na multipolar? Well, here you can see your dendrites. It's not just one or two or three, it's a lot of them. And then you have your single axon. So just remember, like for axon, it's usually one, but then the axon, the terminal endings, it branches out. Okay. Now dendrites are short processes that's attached to this cell body. So as you can see, in the multipolar neuron, the dendrites are attached to the different sites in the body, in the cell body, right here. So you have several points of attachment. That's why it's called multipolar. Okay. Ngayon ito, if you would take a look at this bipolar, from the cell body itself, there's just two that's attached to it. Okay? Kaya siya bipolar. So it doesn't matter whether yung dendrites niya ay branching, as long as pagdating sa cell body, dalawa lang yung naka-attach. So bipolar siya. Okay? So that's how they classified neurons according to number of processes. Okay, let's see. Anyone is on. All right. So, well, to all you guys who are watching, good morning. Okay, so we just finished discussing the different types of neurons according to number of processes. Okay, so we described what a neuron is, and then now number of processes. We move on to the support. Okay, sabi natin dun sa mind map natin kanina, no? Dun sa outline. So as to the types of cells, we have your main cell, the neurons, and we have the supporting cells, which are your glial cells or the neuroglia. Okay, so what are the different types of glial cells? So this is an example of a multipolar neuron right here. This is the cell body right here. This is the cell body. This is the nucleus of that cell body. And you see that there are many dendrites attached to that cell body. And from the cell body, there's one axon that's moving away from the cell body. Okay? So this is a multipolar neuron right here. Now, on the right-hand side of the screen, you would see a pseudo-unipolar. Again, what is a pseudo-unipolar? You have one cell body, which is this big one right here. That's your cell body. And then you have one process coming out of the cell body, and that single process actually split into two. That's why this is your pseudo-unipolar neuron. Again, examples of pseudo-unipolar neurons would be your sensory neurons, the ones responsible for detecting touch, pain, temperature, etc. Okay. Now, glial cells. What are the supporting cells that we can see in this picture? So you have your microglial cells right here. You have your astrocyte. You have your ependymal cells. Okay. You have your oligodendrocyte. And then on the other side, on the right side of the screen, you have your satellite cells and you have your Schwann cells. Now, what's the difference between the two? This picture on your left would be a typical example of a neuron found in your central nervous system. Okay. The one on the right is an example of a neuron that you can see in your peripheral nervous system. Okay. So let's talk about these different supporting cells. So microglia, it's responsible for phagocytosis. What's phagocytosis? It's elimination of unwanted cellular elements, di ba? Phagocytosis. Okay, so microglial cell, kaya ganyan ang itsura niya. It's responsible for phagocytosis. Now, the astrocyte right here, well, it looks like a star, you know, and its basic function is to serve as a scaffold. What is a scaffold? Scaffold is anything that would connect one piece to the next. Diba? Parang sa construction, yung scaffolding. Alam niyo yung tinutungtungan ng mga construction worker to go to a higher level. Diba? Nagbe-build sila ng scaffold. So that's what the astrocyte would do. As you can see here, this astrocyte is actually connecting the ependymal cells, these projections from your ependymal cells to your cell body, to the cell body of your multipolar neuron. It is also attached to here, this void part of your axon. Okay? So you have your microglial cell, you have your astrocytes, and then you have your satellite cells. On the right-hand side, the satellite cells, these are for protection. It serves as a cushion to your peripheral nerve. Okay? Now, what other? Okay. Now, on the lower side, on the lower aspect of the picture, you have your ependymal cells right here. It's the one responsible. It's actually the epithelium. the main epithelium of your brain and your spinal cord. It forms the cellular layer of the epithelium of the brain and spinal cord. Okay? Now, uh, I want you guys to pay attention to these two. You'll see these often. They're similar, but they're different. Labo, no? They're similar, but they're different. Okay. Now, what's the difference between an oligodendrocyte and a Schwann cell? Or what's the similarity muna? Para malinaw. What's the similarity between an oligodendrocyte and a Schwann cell? Both of them produce myelin. Okay? They're the ones responsible for making an axon myelinated. So, yun yung similarity nila. Both of them produce myelin that produces the myelin sheath that covers your axons. Okay? Anong difference nilang dalawa? The oligodendrocyte is the one responsible for making your myelin sheath in your central nervous system. While your Schwann cells, it's the one responsible for producing your myelin sheath in your peripheral nervous system. Okay? Ano pong pinagkaiba nilang dalawa? As you can see in the picture, this is the main cell body of your oligodendrocyte. So si oligodendrocyte, its main cell body is actually not on the axon. So it has a main cell body and then it has extensions. See this one? So it has extensions. And these extensions would actually wrap around your axon, forming your myelin sheath. Okay? That's your oligodendrocyte. Now, for the Schwann cells, if you would notice, Schwann cells are more, I guess they're more personal. So, ito yung actual cell body niya. So, it wraps around that portion. One cell would wrap around one portion of your axon. Another cell would wrap around this portion of the axon. Okay? So, hindi siya katulad ng oligodendrocyte. The cell body is outside, not attached to the axon, so it just has processes that would extend towards your axon and then surround it, forming your myelin sheath. So again, make that distinction. Make that distinction clear between your oligo, so it's your oligodendrocyte, versus your Schwann cell. Okay? Another thing that you have to remember regarding your peripheral nervous system and your Schwann cells. Okay? Now, the Schwann cell has a plasma membrane, and you call it your neurilemma. I'm not sure if I typed it in, but it's a neurilemma. That is your plasma membrane of your Schwann cells. Now, the neurilemma would actually it would actually form a covering on the surface of your myelin sheath. Okay? So, si Schwann cell, siya na yung nag-produce ng myelin sheath, di ba? So, pinalibutan niya yung portion na to na axon. Now, the last layer of it would be the plasma membrane of your Schwann cell. And that plasma membrane would actually be your neurilemma. Okay, let's do this. Because I'm not sure if I place this here. But you call it your neurilemma. Okay, so your neurilemma, we see it on your peripheral nerves. This is the plasma membrane of your Schwann cells. Okay, now why am I emphasizing the neurilemma? Aside from, hold on, what is it that you're seeing? It's my screen. Okay. Now you can see my screen again. So the neurolemma, again, you can see it in your peripheral nerves, the plasma membrane of your Schwann cells. It's also called the sheath of Schwann. Okay, so it's a sheath on top. Anong significance nito? Itong neurolemma na to. Your neurolemma is actually, it enables your peripheral nerves to regenerate. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's somewhere here, but before I forget, I want to emphasize this because you'll see this. I've seen it in questions, so I'm putting emphasis on it. Again, let me share my slides again. Okay. 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 There you go. We're back. Okay. All right. So, yun. Okay. So, ulitin ko, glial cells, they're supporting cells. You have your microglial, you have your astrocyte, you have your ependymal cells. That's actually the epithelial lining of the brain and the spinal cord. You have your oligodendrocytes for the central nervous system, for the nerves in the central nervous system. On the other hand, for the peripheral nerves, okay, you have satellite cells, which serve as a protective covering of your nerve and also like a cushion for it. And then you have your Schwann cells. Stuff that you have to take note of. Oligodendrocyte and Schwann cells. They are the myelin-producing cells. Okay? Oligodendrocyte is for your central nervous system, while your Schwann cells, it's for your peripheral nervous system. Oligodendrocyte cell body is actually outside. It's not attached to your axon at all, but the cell body has processes that would extend towards the axon and wrap your axon with myelin sheath. Okay? So that's why you have one oligodendrocyte. It can extend to several portions of your axon and actually wrap it in myelin. Now, on the other hand, for your Schwann cells, you have one Schwann cell per portion of your axon. So this Schwann cell right here is dedicated to this portion of your axon. Okay. Now the Schwann cells, it's a cell, so it has a plasma membrane, right? So the plasma membrane, you call it your neurolemma. Here, I typed it in. Your neurolemma. So it's a plasma membrane of your Schwann cells. It's the one, as long as in any injury, nerve injury of your peripheral nerve, okay, if the neurolemma is intact and the main cell body of your Schwann cell is also intact, then there is a possibility for that nerve to regenerate. Okay, let me repeat that. I know usual idea natin is if it's a nerve damage, it cannot regenerate. That is sort of true. As nerve that is in your central nervous system, it will be very hard to regenerate it. Actually, that statement is more true to your central nervous system. Once the any nerve in the central nervous system is damaged, then yes, regeneration is almost close to impossible. However, if we are talking about injury to your peripheral nerves, the nerves can regenerate, okay, as long as the neurolemma is still intact and the cell body of that Schwann cell is still intact, is still good. Okay, so peripheral nerves, it can regenerate. Okay, So, yeah. Okay. So, let's widen, no, yung mind mapping. Um, this is what we have discussed so far. I don't know. Hopefully you find it easy. So earlier it was as simple as, having a nervous system. It's divided in, we'll discuss it based on cell type, location, and function. And then now we have finished discussing the cell type, and we said that you have two types of, two groups of cells. You have your main cells, which are your neurons, and then we have the supporting cells, which is your glial cells. Okay, so the neuroglia, your glial cells, they're the ones responsible for support, nutrition, and insulation of the neurons. Okay, so we'll go this way first. So for neurons, we have different types of neurons. We have sensory neurons, we have motor neurons, and we have mixed type. We mentioned this before. Usually, the code here is same, right? If you would remember, sensory afferent. This is one way to remember it. Motor efferent, right? Okay. So sensory afferent, motor efferent, and then you have mixed type of neurons, which would carry both sensory and motor. And then we discussed the different types of neurons based on number of processes. So we said there's unipolar. We said there's pseudo unipolar. There's bipolar cells, and of course we have multipolar cells. Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier, true unipolar cells do not exist in vertebrates. True unipolar cells exist in invertebrates. Okay? However, in man, we do have pseudo unipolar. Okay, should emphasize here. Pseudo unipolar. And we said earlier that the main example of pseudo unipolar cells would be your sensory neurons. Okay, so pseudo unipolar. If we go back to the picture for the pseudo unipolar, we have two processes. You have a peripheral process that would extend to your, that's actually attached to your sensory receptors. So this is your peripheral. Once there's a stimulus and the receptor would receive the stimulus, it would send signal towards your cell body. Okay. So that's your peripheral process towards the cell body. And then from the cell body, it would send information towards the higher centers, brain and spinal cord. So this is your central process. And it's this one, peripheral and central processes. Peripheral, you see it on the sides. Central, it's the one that goes to your higher centers in the central nervous system. Okay. Now, motor nerves, motor neurons, we would usually see them synapsing with muscle cells. That's why they're called motor neurons. Okay. And the multipolar neurons, example of which are your motor neurons. Okay, so motor neurons are actually multipolar. Okay, and then when it comes to your supporting cells, the glial cells, we divided it into two. So you have glial cells for the CNS, and we have glial cells for your peripheral nervous system. For your central nervous system, we have your oligodendrocytes. We said that they are the ones responsible for producing your myelin sheath. And then we have astrocytes that serves as scaffolding, connecting one cell to the next, and it creates continuity, in the tissue. So astrocytes, and then we have your microglia, which is responsible for phagocytosis. And then this one, it's not in the diagram in the picture earlier. So you have your choroidal cells. What are choroidal cells? Choroidal cells are the ones responsible for the production of your cerebrospinal fluid. Okay? And then, nakita natin to kanina, your ependymal cells. It's actually the epithelial lining of the brain and the spinal cord. And those are different glial cells that's part of your central nervous system. And then on the peripheral nervous system, we have Schwann cells, which would produce myelin, and we have your satellite cells for support, for cushion, for protection. And then we also mentioned that for Schwann cells, it is related to your neurolemma. And then the neurolemma is the one that would enable your peripheral nerves to regenerate as long as it is intact. Okay? So that's that. We're done with that portion. Now we move on to the next. The nervous system can also be classified according to location, and we know that. You have your central nervous system and we have your peripheral nervous system. For the central nervous system, it's actually just composed of your brain and your spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system, it's composed of your cranial nerves, your spinal nerves, and your other peripheral nerves. Okay, so before I proceed, do you guys have any questions? Again, you know the drill. If you do have questions, just type in Q dash and then yeah, I'll read it later. Okay, and if you want to clarify things, mark it as a question too. Okay, so hopefully so far so good. Okay, so if it's good, you know, like just type in good that you understood. Okay, that way I'll know. And if there's any unclear stuff, just type it there too, so I'll see it. Okay. All right. So nervous system based on location. Right. This is going to be like brainy because you'll see a lot of them. And there you go. Let's start with your brain. So again, central, based on location, we have your central nervous system. Central nervous system is composed of your brain and your spinal cord. Now, what you would be seeing in the next slides would just be, you'd see pictures and you'd see, well, I'm not going to be discussing everything about your brain. That's why I said, you know, like some stuff in between, important stuff. Okay. So as a review, this right here is your cerebrum. The cerebrum is actually the largest portion of the brain. Okay, and we know that for your cerebrum, it is actually divided into your right and left cerebral hemispheres, and the right and left cerebral hemispheres would be connected by your corpus callosum. Okay, so cerebrum. In the cerebrum, we'll find your cerebral cortex. Too fast. Now, in the cerebral cortex, there's actually 4 areas, or 4 lobes, okay, based on the part of the skull where they're close to, okay. So you have your frontal lobe. On your upper left, you have your frontal lobe. And then you have your temporal lobe. You have your parietal lobe. And we have your occipital lobe. Okay, so these are the 4 main lobes of the brain, of the cerebrum, based on location, you know, the closest bone they're at. Now, I found this one, and I think it's pretty easy to understand. So frontal lobe, it's the one responsible for executive functions, higher thinking. Okay, so planning, organizing, problem solving, anything that involves a lot of thinking, that's your frontal lobe. Okay, your temporal lobe is basically the one responsible for memory, for understanding, for language. And then the parietal lobe is responsible for perception, making sense. So that's perception. When you try to make sense of things, when you try to make sense of letters, that's your parietal lobe is the one responsible for that. And then occipital lobe is mainly for vision. Okay, so these are the different functions of the different lobes of your cerebrum. What do you usually have to recall? Uh, Actually, like whatever's here on the picture, these are the important stuff, like summary already of what's in it. So if you're asked which lobe of the brain is responsible for higher thinking, then you just have to kind of not really memorize, but know saan siya. So like for example, vision. It's easy because occipital lobe, yun lang yung kanya, vision. Okay? So parietal lobe, perception, temporal lobe, memory, understanding, language. So just get an idea kung ano yung mga specialty ng different lobes. Okay? Now, in the cerebrum, aside from the four lobes, we also have your motor cortex and your sensory cortex. Of course, motor, we all know, it means it's responsible for movement. And then sensory cortex, it's the one responsible for interpreting sensations, senses, anything that has to do with senses. Now, two other things that I added here that I remember it, so I guess it is important. So we have Broca's area right here. This is Broca's area. Okay, somewhere in the junction or close to your frontal and your temporal lobe. Okay, Broca's area. What's the importance of your Broca's area? It's for language production. Okay, production of words, production of sounds. That's Broca's area. Now the other one is Wernicke's. Wernicke's area right here. So Wernicke's area is close to your parietal and temporal area. Now Wernicke's, this time, it has something to do with language also, but it's more of like comprehension of language. Remember, parietal is making sense of things. So Wernicke's area is more of making sense of words. Broca's is production of words. Okay? So if you have in the Broca's area, so production of words. So ano mangyayari kapag defective yung Broca's area or may lesion dun sa may Broca's area? Then that person would have what? Broken words. Broken words like utal-utal. Diba? That's broken. Diba? Broca's, broken words. Okay? So they know, naintindihan nila, alam nila kung ano yung gusto nilang sabihin. It's just that they couldn't say it. They're having difficulty producing the words. Okay? So if that's the scenario, then the affected area is Broca's area. So that's your Broca's aphasia. And then if there's a lesion on the side of the brain where Wernicke's is affected, in Wernicke's, that person can produce the words, but they're babbling. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? Salita lang sila ng salita, but it doesn't make sense. It's like, ano daw? Yun yung Wernicke's. Person keeps talking and talking and talking, pero pagka ikaw yung nakikinig, hindi mo na-gets kung ano yung sinabi niya. Ano yun? When I was, kanina, when I was rereading this, I was like, mahirap pala. If there's a lesion on the Wernicke's area, I mean, mahirap malaman kung sino sa mga taong kausap mo ang may lesion doon sa Wernicke's area. Why? Because a lot of people just keep babbling and, you don't really understand them. Minsan isipin mo na pag hindi mo na magets, ano daw, di ba? Wernicke's. And maraming taong ganun. So, it makes you wonder. Okay? So, I hope you guys got the difference between the two. Again, Broca's area, broken speech. Okay? They speak slow. And They know what they want to say, they just couldn't say it. Vernix, they keep talking, they don't make sense. Okay? Sabi ng isang nabasa ko, it's like a salad of words. Di ba yung salad halo-halo? So that's what happens in a vernix. There's just one too many words, but they don't make sense. Okay? So that's the cerebrum, those are the lobes, and those are the areas, and those are the functions. All right? Now, okay, I'm done with that. Let's move to this one on your lower left. Okay. What I want to emphasize here and what I want you guys to remember, in the brain, white matter is inside. Gray matter is on the periphery. Okay, take note of that. On the brain, white matter, inside. Gray matter, periphery. Because we're going to differentiate it later when we get to the spinal cord. So, if you would take a look at this one, gray matter, nakita nyo, gray yung outside. Yan, gray matter. This one would actually correspond to this, your cortex. The surface of your cortex. That's all of them. That's gray matter. Okay? So, saan mo makikita yung white matter? When you cut this way. Okay? It's this view that you see. That's why sinabi natin, di ba? The cerebrum is actually divided into two hemispheres. You have your cerebral hemispheres. And it is connected. It is connected by your corpus callosum. Okay? Right and left cerebral hemisphere connected by your corpus callosum. Now, they say that usually the more dominant hemisphere would be the left hemisphere. Okay? Left hemisphere. This is the left hemisphere, right here. Kasi ito yung frontal eh. So meaning ito yung anterior, di ba? I mean, harap. So kung yan yung anterior, edi ito yung left side of the brain. Okay? So, yun now. Different lobes, different areas of your cerebrum, and then white matter in, gray out. White in, gray out. That's for your brain. Okay? Brain, white in, gray out. Now, oops, I'm not done yet. Okay, meninges. Meninges. So, meninges, you would see this both in your brain and in your spinal cord. Okay? Now, just some facts in relation to your meninges. Okay. So, this actually has something to do with this diagram here on the bottom. If you would remember your scalp acronym, this is actually the layer of the scalp. Diba? The layers of the scalp is like SCALP. So you have your skin right here, your epidermis, and then you have your connective tissue layer under your skin, and then you have your aponeurotic layer right here, and then underneath the A you have L, which is your loose areolar tissue, and then beneath that would be your periosteum. So the periosteum right here would be your bone. Okay? Now, beneath this bone, beneath your skull, then you'll find your meninges. So first you have your dura mater right here, the dura. On top of the dura, so it's epi. Okay? So between the bone and the dura mater, there's a space. You call it your epidural space. Okay? So, what's the significance in your epidural space? I remember mentioning this one before. Epidural space, you have there your middle meningeal artery. So, if you have epidural hematoma, Remember that? Epidural hematoma. Artery involved would be your middle meningeal artery. Why? Because it's located in your epidural space. Where's your epidural space? It's right there between the bone and your dura mater. Okay. Now, in this area of the dura mater, right here, you'll see your venous sinuses. Okay, remember I said before, sinuses are spaces. They're not exactly blood vessels, but they're spaces where blood can pass through. Okay, so dura mater, it forms your venous sinuses. Now, below the dura mater, you have your another space, and it's called this time your subdural space. Okay, so dura mater, subdural space. Siguro ito, pwede na to, itong linyang to. That's your subdural space. What's the significance of your subdural space? Your subdural space has bridging veins. Okay, it forms your cranial venous sinuses. Okay, subdural space. It has bridging veins, and it forms your cranial venous sinuses. Okay, now beneath your subdural space, you have your arachnoid. So what's your arachnoid? It's that layer between your dura mater and your pia mater. That's your arachnoid. Okay. So it's just a membrane. Okay, between your dura mater and your pia mater. Now, beneath your arachnoid layer, right here, you have, dahil sa ilalim, hence the term sub. Okay? So in your subarachnoid space, right here, so you can see that this is like a pretty big space. Yan, lahat yan. Yan ay ang subarachnoid space. Now, the subarachnoid space is filled with your cerebrospinal fluid. Okay? It's filled with cerebrospinal fluid. We mentioned earlier, what cells are responsible in producing your CSF? They're your choroidal cells. Okay? So, choroidal cells that produce CSF, saan makikita yung CSF? Saan maraming CSF na makikita? Sa subarachnoid space. Now, also, on the subarachnoid space, you have your circle of Willis. Remember your circle of Willis? Circle of Willis is your blood supply for the brain. Remember, you have your anterior portion of your circle of Willis and you have your posterior circulation in the circle of Willis. Bakit dalawa? Bakit kailangan may anterior at saka posterior? Because the body would not function without the brain. So the brain has to have a backup in case something happens in any of the areas. Okay? That's how delicate and intricately designed ang katawan ng tao. Alright? So, circle of Willis. In case you'd want to further your mind map on your brain, circle of Willis, recall anterior communicating artery, middle communicating artery, posterior communicating artery. Naalala nyo? And then if posteriorly you extend it further, it's connected to your basilar artery. And then your basilar artery, if you go down, it's connected to your vertebral artery. Okay? So, dapat you're just adding words, no? To, if you have a map on your head or a chart in your head, now you can actually connect them, add words, um, add new words to your mind map, and then start connecting them to each other. Kasi marami na, I mean, there's words here that we have already discussed. So, make it a picture, like one big picture in your mind. Okay? Cool. Yeah. All right. And then after your subarachnoid space, then you have your pia mater right here. So pia mater, it's that layer that sticks to your cerebrum. It sticks to your brain tissue. Okay? So those are the different meninges of the brain. We have discussed cerebrum, we have discussed meninges, and yeah. Oh, one more thing. Going back to the gray and white. Sabi natin, brain white in, gray out. Okay, brain white in, gray out. Why is it white and why is it gray? It's white because of the nerves that you see in the white matter space. They're all myelinated. Okay? So, white means myelinated. And ano yung gray? E di yun na yung unmyelinated. Okay? Again, what makes it white? What makes it white would be your... Oh, man. I should get a tablet. Your myelin sheath makes it white. Okay? Why is it gray? Kasi wala siyang myelin. Easy as that. All right. Moving on. Let's see, do I need anything here? Yep. Moving on. Okay. Moving on. Now we move on to the bigger picture of your brain. Our brain. Hindi lang pala inyo, pati ako. Our brain. So we're done discussing this part, the cerebrum. So sinabi natin kanina, the cerebrum has like 4 main lobes. Diba? You have 4 main lobes. You have your frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. Each of the lobes, they're responsible for, certain things. And then we also said that in the cerebrum, you have your motor cortex and you have your sensory cortex. And then we said earlier that, like on this side, you have, this is anterior. So on this side, you have your Broca's area, and then somewhere here, this is your parietal. Somewhere here would be your Wernicke's area. So that's your cerebrum and your cerebral cortex. Okay. Now, corpus callosum, I mentioned this one earlier. What is it for? Corpus callosum, it's the one responsible for connecting the right and left hemispheres of your cerebrum. Okay. So here, our focus would be on the other parts of your brain, such as your brainstem. Brainstem. The brainstem is very important. From out of it, if you would recall our topic on cranial nerves, 10 out of the 12 cranial nerves would actually arise from the brainstem. Remember, O and O, the first two cranial nerves are the only cranial nerves that do not arise from your brain stem. All the rest, they're all connected to your brain stem. Okay? Now, aside from that, na sila yung pinanggalingan ng mga cranial nerves, yung brain stem, it's divided into 3 areas. So you have your midbrain, your pons, and your medulla. So midbrain would be this one. Pons would be the center. And then you have your medulla or your medulla oblongata, which is actually connected to the spinal cord. Okay? So midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. Now, what can we say regarding the midbrain? The midbrain is basically the one responsible for uh, interpreting audiovisual. Thanks. The pons, so midbrain, audiovisual. Okay. Your pons is a relay center. This is your pons right here. It's a relay center. The medulla right here, it's responsible for a lot of things. Okay. The medulla, it's responsible for blood pressure regulation. It's responsible for breathing. It's responsible for reflexes. Okay. Medulla, responsible for your BP. It's responsible for breathing or respiratory. It's also responsible for reflexes. Okay? So, maraming function si medulla. Si medulla oblongata. Okay. That's brainstem in a nutshell. Brainstem in a nutshell. There you go. Now, for the cerebellum, it's located, posterior to your brainstem right here. This is your cerebellum. Okay. So they call the cerebellum your mini brain. It's like this is like your big brain, your cerebrum, and then the cerebellum would be the mini version. Okay. Now the cerebellum is responsible for coordinating muscle movement. Okay. It's the one responsible for coordinating muscle movement. And it's the one that actually receives proprioception input. Again, sinabi ko na to before. Ano ibig sabihin ng proprioception? Proprioception is actually knowing where your body parts are at a certain point in time. Okay? So, kung yung kamay mo, hinahawakan mo yung mukha mo ngayon, you know where it is because of proprioceptors that would relay signal to the brain as telling the brain where the hand is. Okay, so that's proprioceptor. It's knowing where a particular body part, limb in particular, where your limbs are at a particular point in time. Okay, so that's your cerebellum. Let's see what else do I have to say about your cerebellum. So I said earlier it's responsible for muscle movement, coordination of muscle movement. It is also responsible for posture. Okay, so the cerebellum is responsible for posture. It is excitatory in nature. So the action coming from the cerebellum would be excitatory in nature. Anong kabaliktaran na excitatory? Inhibitory. Okay? So the cerebellum is the one that initiates action. So it's excitatory. Excitatory cerebellum. Okay? Okay. Now, other portions of the brain. Let's take a look at this one. So one, we have your basal ganglia. The basal ganglia, it controls complex patterns of motor activities and posture. Okay, basal ganglia, motor activities, posture. Saan natin narinig yung posture kanina? Sa cerebellum. I said earlier, cerebellum is excitatory in nature. Okay, excitatory in nature. While the basal ganglia, it controls complex patterns of motor activities and posture. Okay, it is inhibitory in nature. So, what does that mean? The cerebellum and your basal ganglia are the ones responsible for movement. Sila yung nagko-coordinate for like when we move. So one is excitatory, which is your cerebellum, and then the other one is inhibitory, which is your basal ganglia. So they work hand in hand to refine our movement, to maintain our posture. Okay? So, tandaan nyo lang yun. Cerebellum and basal ganglia. They work together. They do opposite things. Cerebellum excites. Basal ganglia inhibits. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? Every single minute or every single second that we're moving, they're actually working side by side. So that we would be at a certain place, in a certain position that we want to be in. Okay? So, that is the basal ganglia and cerebellum. Now, here you'll see your thalamus and your hypothalamus. Just as an added info, like the thalamus and the hypothalamus is actually part of your diencephalon. Okay? I think the cerebrum is your telencephalon. And then your thalamus and your hypothalamus, it's diencephalon. Okay? Portion of the diencephalon. All right, now let's go to thalamus. The thalamus is the one that's responsible for relaying sensory information to the cortex. So, sensory to cortex. San part ng cortex? Edi dun sa sensory portion ng cerebral cortex. Okay? So, from here, the thalamus, it would relay your sensory input to the cortex, which is supposed to be somewhere here. The sensory portion should be somewhere here. Right? So it acts like a distribution center. So thalamus, it relays sensory information to the cortex, except the olfactory. Okay? And then the hypothalamus, on the other hand, which is this one, right here, the blue one, your hypothalamus, it is, the hypothalamus is, it acts more like an endocrine gland. Okay? It's responsible for so many things. It's responsible for heat regulation, for hunger detection, satiation detection, satiated, meaning busog ka. Okay? So whether you're hungry, you're full, the hypothalamus would send signals. Okay? Whether you're asleep, you're fatigued, right? The hypothalamus would take care of them. So, ang hypothalamus, basically, it's responsible for detecting body temperature, water balance, food intake. Yun nga, siya yung magsasabi kung gutom ka na or busog ka na. It regulates the circadian rhythm. If you like circadian rhythm, when we sleep, the sleep cycle, the circadian rhythm, that one. And then aggression is also mediated by the hypothalamus. Okay, so the hypothalamus is a very important part of the CNS. Again, it's for regulation of body temperature, water balance, food intake, circadian rhythm, aggression. So, lahat yun, hypothalamus ang may control. No? So, kung tingin mo, lagi kang kain ng kain, parang hindi ka nabubusog, then, I don't know, then you have to tell your hypothalamus na parang awa na niya. Sabihan na niya yung utak mo na sabihan na niya yung tiyan mo pala, na busog ka na. Diba? Kung kain ka ng kain. So, hypothalamus. And then, what other parts? Oh, then we have your amygdala and the hippocampus. Right here. So, the hippocampus is basically for memory, navigation, for learning. Okay? And then the amygdala, it's responsible for memory, emotional response, and learning. Okay? So the amygdala, by virtue of its like close relation to your hypothalamus, they actually work together too. The amygdala and the hypothalamus, they work together. Okay, so we'll see later on like how they work together. Okay, so these are the different parts of your brain, of our brain. Again, if you have any questions, clarifications, just type your questions in, and then we'll get back to them. But basically, this is it. Your brain. Okay, that's brain in a nutshell. All right. So hopefully everything is clear. That's just that's the brain. Um, I don't know if I can simplify it any further than that, but that's the brain. As I said earlier, I just included in there important details. Some that are too technical, I didn't really include them anymore because they're too technical. Ito isipin nyo, no? Like one tip again when you're studying, especially when you're studying for GA, Physio, the clusters of subject. Nasaan na ba yung aking listahan? Yeah, here. So, for example, S1, it's GA, OA, Gen Path, and Oral Path. And then for S2, it's like Microana, your Oral Path, and your Microbio. So, anong gusto kong tandaan ninyo? Tandaan nyo, 100 lang yung tanong. Diba? Tama, diba? 100 lang yung tanong. So, if sa S1, 100 nga ba? 100 lang. So, if sa S1, 100 lang yung tanong, and then you have your general anatomy, your oral anatomy, your gen path, and your oral path, how in the world, or why in the world should you study everything if 100 questions lang naman ang kailangan mong masagutan? Remember what I told you guys before? You don't have to know everything, but you have to know enough. Okay? You have to know enough important information. Okay? All right. So, yun. Okie dokie. Now, moving on. But then, why am I emphasizing all these things? I want you guys to have solid foundation. Because from here, like when you have a solid foundation on your, especially on the head and neck area, it's easy to jump off from this and go into pharma and go into micro, madaling gawin yun. So these are laying grounds. So bear with me, but we're just laying grounds. All right, we move on to your spinal cord. Again, the spinal cord is part of the central nervous system. Dalawa lang naman ang part ng central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. Okay. So spinal cord, as we know, it's right here, right there in the middle. Okay, it's bounded by your bones, vertebrae, and it's right there in the middle. And then review also, there are several regions in the spinal cord based on nasa ang areas siya ng katawan. So we have C, your cervical region, it's C1 to C8. We have the thoracic region, that's T1 to T12. And then we have the lumbar area right here. That's L1 to L5. And then we have the sacral region, which is S1 to S5. And then you have your coccygeal, the very end of the spine, coccyx. Again, C1 to C8, T1 to T12. So you have your cervical area, your thoracic area, your lumbar, and your sacral, and your coccyx. Okay? So if you add them up, ilan sila lahat? So you have 8 plus 12, that's 25, 31. Okay? So you have 31. That's where you'll get the logic later on why we have 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Because it's based on this. Okay. How many cranial nerves do we have? 12 pairs. Okay. How many spinal nerves do we have? We have 31 pairs of spinal nerve. Okay? Alright. So, ito lang yung point ng picture na yan. You have different areas. Cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccyx, coccygeal. Now, if we go to the cross section, right here, if we go to the cross section right here, what do you notice regarding the gray and white matter? In the spinal cord, di ba sabi ko sa inyo, tandaan niyo sa brain? What did we say regarding the brain? White in, gray out. Now, take a look at the spine. The spinal cord is the opposite. In the spinal cord, it's gray in and white out. Okay? Gray in, white out, that's your spinal cord. Do you have to memorize the two of them? Baka pagbaliktarin nyo pa sila? No. Remember, I gave you a tip before. If you're memorizing between two different things, just know one. E di yung kabaliktaran nun, yun yung isa. Okay? So if you just keep in mind that in the brain, it's white in, gray out. And then yung sa spinal cord, kabaliktaran, edi, saka nyo naisipin yung kabaliktaran pagka tinanong na kayo. Basta alam nyo lang, sa brain, white in, gray out. Or kung gusto nyo i-memorize yung sa spinal cord, instead dun sa brain, it's up to you. Alright? So, spinal cord, gray in, white out. And then we said earlier, there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Bakit 31 pairs? Kasi on each side of the spinal cord would emerge your spinal nerve. Right here, spinal nerve. Okay? So it would emerge on each side. So you have like a left and right side. That's why there's 31 pairs of them. Okay? And then I remember mentioning to you guys earlier, if the brain has meninges, the spinal cord would also have meninges, which is the same. You have your dura mater, you have your arachnoid, and you have your pia mater. So again, the pia mater, that's the one that's adherent to your spinal cord. Same with the pia mater being adherent to your cerebrum. Okay? What else do we have to know regarding the spinal cord? Oops. Remember the shape, the H. Diba? Common naman to sa mga sa mga picture ng spinal cord. Diba? Itong H shape. H shape right there. Okay? It's like your letter H. Alright? What do we have to remember? This H shape, gray matter right here, you have horns. Here. Okay. So, here you can see horn. Horn. Horn is like yung projection niya, no? So, the spine is actually divided into a ventral side and a dorsal side. Alin ang ventral side? Ventral side would be the anterior side. Dorsal would be at the back. Okay? So for us, human beings, since we stand tall, we walk tall, ang ventral side ay yung chest side. The dorsal side would be the back side. Okay? So the spine, you have your dorsal horn, you have your ventral horn, and then on the side, you have your lateral horn. So bakit kailangan natin malaman na may ventral horn or ventral side sa dorsal side? Because from these horns would emerge your nerves. Okay? So like here on the ventral horn, you have the ventral root of a nerve. From the dorsal horn, you have the dorsal root and the dorsal root ganglion. Okay? What else do you have to take note of? You can easily remember it as AVM. What's A, V, and M? A is anterior, para alam niyo yung spatial relation, no? So it's anterior, ventral, motor. Saan ko napulot yung motor? Ito, motor, right here. Baka natatakpan sa ano. So AVM, anterior, ventral, motor. So tatandaan nyo lang, anong horn ng spinal cord ang motor? It's ventral, AVM. Kasi minsan hindi nila sasabihin na ventral horn. Sasabihin nila anterior horn. So that's why you have to know A and V are equal. Anterior and ventral, they mean the same. So anterior horn, ventral horn, that's where the motor nuclei is. That's where the motor efferent, remember, sensory afferent, motor efferent. Okay? So motor efferent nerves will be coming from your AVM, anterior, ventral, motor. Okay? Yun naman. Again, same principle. Pag tinandaan nyo na AVM, di alam nyo na nasa dorsal or sa posterior, nandun naman yung sensory. Okay? Bakit ko sinasabi na tandaan nyo na lang yung isa, wag na yung isa, well, I guess to conserve space. Meron akong thinking kasi na ang utak natin parang memory card. I mean, yeah, it is our memory card. So, if you fill it with so many things, eventually it's going to be full and you can't take in anything anymore. Diba? So, save space. That's one way of saving space, I guess. Okay? Now, what else do I want you to know based on this picture? Here. So we said earlier, diba? Ventral, AVM. Anterior, ventral, motor. Okay. So, anterior, ventral, motor, right here. And then you have the posterior, your dorsal root. That's sensory. See how they merge together? This is a sensory nerve. This is a motor nerve. Now, the spinal nerve that comes out of it is actually what? This is a mixed nerve. Okay? So this is sensory, this is motor. They join together, so the spinal nerve is a mixed type of a nerve. Okay? Mixed type ang spinal nerve. Yep. So those are the important things regarding your spinal cord. Anterior ventral motor. Dagdag mo na yung motor efferent. There you go. Okay? Anterior ventral motor efferent signals. Para lang same page tayo lahat, no, when it comes to when I say sensory afferent, motor efferent. So sensory afferent, meaning the sensory nerves would actually bring the information towards the central nervous system. Okay? Sensory afferent, towards the central nervous system. Motor efferent, away from the central nervous system to what? To the organs, to the muscles, to the glands. Okay? So, anterior horn, ventral horn, motor efferent. Okay, I guess I said everything on this picture. You have your meninges. You have a sensory root, a motor root that would join together to form a mixed type of a nerve. You have your anterior ventral motor efferent. Gray in, white out for the spinal cord. Then you have different regions in the spinal cord. C1 to C8, T1 to T12, L1 to L5, S1 to S5, and then your coccyx giving you 31. Okay? And then we said that on either side, no, not on either side, on both sides, sorry, on both sides of the spinal cord would emerge your nerves. So you have 31, and then you have both sides, so you have 31 pairs of spinal nerves coming out of your spinal cord. Whew. Now, the spinal cord is connected superiorly to the medulla. Di ba nakita niyo yun kanina dun sa picture? Katuloy ng medulla oblongata would be your spinal cord. Okay? All right. We are moving along. Let me see what's next in the slide. Oh, spinal tracts. Now, another thing with regards to the spinal cord. Okay? So, in relation to the spinal cord, we have the spinal tracts. I remember discussing with you guys on tracts. You know, tracts are axons that have the same origin and termination, and we can find it where? In the central nervous system. Diba? We differentiated before. Anong difference ng nerve sa tract? Anong difference ng nuclei sa ganglia? So, ito yun, tracts. Axons having the same origin and termination found in the CNS, in the central nervous system. So we're talking about the spinal tracts this time. Now, the spinal tracts, it can be ascending or descending, sensory or motor. So, what would be the ascending ones? The ascending ones would be the sensory. Bakit siya ascending? Kasi paakyat sa brain. Remember, sabi natin sa sensory, from the outside of the body, any stimulus, it would go up, it would go to the brain. So it ascends to the brain. Brain processes things, and then it would send the command down. That's why it's descending. It would send the command down to the muscles, to the glands, to whatever part of the body. Okay? So, when we talk about sensory tracts, sensory spinal tracts, we're talking about the ascending tracts kasi papunta siya sa brain. And dorsal, remember? AVM dito, A, anterior ventral motor. So, ventral motor, right here. It's descending because it's from the brain going down. Now, sensory, it's ascending because it's from the outside going to the brain. Okay. Now, what are the different? Ito pa pala. The spinal tracts can also be ipsilateral and it can also be contralateral. We all know what this means. Ipsilateral, same side. Contralateral, opposite sides. Okay? So for the sensory ascending tracts, we have two main tracts. We have the spinothalamic tract and we have the dorsal column or your medial lemniscus. So the spinothalamic tract, it's the one responsible, sensory, diba? It's the one responsible for transmitting pain, temperature, and light touch. Okay, pain, temperature, and light touch. Anong responsible na tract na magdadala nitong sensation na to papunta sa central nervous system? It's the spinothalamic tract. Okay, light touch. Light touch lang dito. However, pagdating sa deep touch, pressure, vibration, proprioception, these signals would be transmitted via the dorsal column or the medial lemniscus. And then it would eventually ascend to the brain for interpretation. Okay? Now, on the other hand, so dito sa sensory may dalawa, spinothalamic tract and you have your dorsal column. Now, for the motor spinal tract, we have the corticospinal, also called your pyramidal tract or pyramidal tract. And the corticospinal tract, actually, like majority of it would go lateral. I'll show it to you on the picture on the right. And then 10 to 30% of it would go in the front. And then it says it decussates in the medulla. Ano ibig sabihin ng decussate? It's just crossing over. Yun lang yun. Pinahirap pa, diba? But yeah, that's the, I guess, fancier way of saying it. It decussates in the medulla. It crosses over in the medulla region. Medulla here would be your medulla oblongata. Okay? So the corticospinal tract is actually responsible for fine, skilled movements. Remember, this is motor, so action. Ito senses, sensory. Yung motor, action. So for fine, skilled movements, it's the corticospinal tract. The brain sends the command via the corticospinal tract going to the effector organs or the muscles. Okay? So pyramidal. And then the other tract would be extrapyramidal. Actually, with the extrapyramidal, marami pa siyang tracts dito. Why? The extrapyramidal tract is actually a collection of smaller tracts. Okay? It's a collection of smaller tracts. So if you would check your review books, you'd find there ano yung mga smaller tracts. It decussates in pons, meaning it crosses over to the other side at the area of pons. And it's responsible for gross movement, posture, and balance. Okay, so to make things clearer, let's take a look at this picture on the right side. Okay, so this represents your brain, your motor cortex, your forebrain, your midbrain, pons medulla. This is your brainstem right here. And then it's connected to the medulla oblongata, is connected to your spinal cord. Okay? So, let's see here. This is your corticospinal tract. Right here. So if you would follow that one, dito mo makikita yung sinasabi kanina na it decussates in the medulla. Decussates. It crosses over. Right there. See? So you have, sabi natin, 70 to 90% would cross over, which is this part. The pyramidal, the lateral part, it crosses over to the other side. Okay? While there's just 10 to 30% that would stay on the same side. So it doesn't cross to the other side. Okay? So decussates in the medulla. Okay? And then it descends. Pababa. So this is considered now your lateral corticospinal tract, and this is considered your anterior corticospinal tract. Now we said earlier that for the lateral, it's more, and then less on the anterior corticospinal tract. Okay? So ito lang yung, para lang magkaroon kayo ng picture ko ano ibig sabihin ng decussates at the pons, decussates in the medulla. So here, transfer to the other side. It crosses over to the other side. So for the extrapyramidal tracts, sabi dun, it decussates at the pons. So on this area pa lang, nag-transfer na siya to the other side. Yun yung extrapyramidal. Yun yung structure ng mga extrapyramidal tracts. Okay, so that is your spinal cord and your spinal tract. Okay, so those are the pictures and all, but this is a diagram of everything that we have discussed so far. Well, as to location. So we said central, brain and spinal cord. I inserted here neural tube ectoderm, meaning that's the origin, histology, histological origin. The central nervous system came from the neural tube ectoderm, while the peripheral nervous system, it came actually from the neural crest ectoderm. So both the central and peripheral nervous system came from ectoderm. It's just that one is from the neural tube and the other one is from the neural crest. Okay. So with the central nervous system, you have motor, which is an outgoing command. Sabi natin yun, it's the descending one. And then sensory, incoming data towards the central nervous system, your brain and spinal cord. So the afferent and the efferent. And then, of course, in the brain, you have association centers, which would connect all the different areas, okay, in the brain. So, diniscuss din natin kanina regarding the brain. We have the brainstem, which connects your cerebrum to your spinal cord. The brainstem is composed of your midbrain, pons, and your medulla. And then you have the cerebellum. This is located behind your brainstem. And then you have the basal ganglia. Sabi natin na antagonistic sila. Cerebellum would excite. The basal ganglia would inhibit. But both of them are responsible for posture and movement. Okay? So they're responsible for motor activities, particularly posture and movement. And then we have your thalamus and hypothalamus, which is, part of your diencephalon. And then we said that for the thalamus, it relays sensory information except the olfactory. And then for the hypothalamus, sabi natin, marami siya masyadong function. It regulates body temperature, water balance, your circadian rhythm. It regulates your sleep. It regulates your food intake, whether you're hungry or you're full. So that's the responsibility of the hypothalamus. Now, in your review, baka makita ninyo, how does the body regulate temperature? How does the body regulate temperature? It's the responsibility of the hypothalamus to regulate body temperature by, alam mo yun kapag giniginaw ka. Diba, what happens kapag giniginaw ka? Diba parang kinikilabutan ka? The shivering. So the shivering action, the one responsible for that is actually your hypothalamus. It is part of the heat regulation mechanism of the hypothalamus to keep the body temperature normal. Okay, so example lang yun, shivering. Okay, then we have discussed the hippocampus and the amygdala for learning and memory, and then amygdala for your emotions. And then the largest part of the brain, the cerebral cortex or your cerebrum, it has 4 lobes. Ito yung pinaka-basic na nung 4 na lobes na yan. You have your frontal, which is your primary motor area. Your parietal would be taste and sensation. And then occipital would be visual. Temporal would be audio and olfactory. the cerebral cortex, the cerebrum being the largest part of the brain, the highest center, so it receives sensory input and it would integrate motor output. And then like down there, I just added the two areas for speech. You have your Broca's and your Wernicke's area. Again, Broca's would be production of words, and Wernicke's would be comprehension of the language or speech. Okay? And then we discussed the spinal cord. We said that you have the gray matter, and then you have the white matter. So in the spinal cord, the H, that's your gray matter. Outside would be white. Okay? And then AVM, anterior ventral motor, and then posterior dorsal sensory. And then in the intermedial area of the horns, it's for autonomic functions. Okay? And then white matter, it's found on the periphery, on the outside, and it's myelinated. We mentioned this kanina sa brain. Why is the white matter white? Because of myelin. Why is the gray matter gray? Because of the lack of myelin. They're unmyelinated, so that's why they're gray. And then the spinal cord, very much like your brain, has meninges. Your dura mater, your arachnoid, and your pia mater. Okay? Okay. That's your central nervous system. Let me see if I... Okay. Peripheral nervous system. Now, for the peripheral nervous system, kanina we mentioned like certain differences with the peripheral nerves and your central nerves. Sabi natin, diba, with the peripheral nerves, they, like, fibers would have myelin sheath, but the one responsible for the myelin sheath would be your Schwann cell. And then let's talk about structures, okay, of a peripheral nerve. What makes up a peripheral nerve? Okay. Okay. So we have different layers. We have your epineurium, your perineurium, and your endoneurium. Okay. Now, how do they differ one from the other? When you talk about epineurium, it is the actual coating of your peripheral nerve. Asan siya? Ito si epineurium right here. So it's the actual coating of your nerve, peripheral nerve. Okay? So when we say nerve, it's not a neuron. Okay? It's not just one. I mean, it's a bunch of them. So epineurium would be the final coating of your entire peripheral nerve. That's your epineurium. Your perineurium, it's right here. So if this is one whole bundle, inside the bundle you have several fascicles. What are fascicles? Fascicles are also groups of neurons. Okay, so let's take this fascicle out as an example. Now in this fascicle right here, you have so many different neurons. Okay, now this bunch of neurons is actually encased by your perineurium right here. Okay, so the perineurium, it covers a bundle of processes. The epineurium, it covers your entire peripheral nerve. Okay? So epi, pinakamalaking coverage, I mean. And then sumunod yung perineurium because it's covering several bundles of processes. your nerve neurons. Okay, and then we have the endoneurium. What's an endoneurium? The endoneurium would cover processes and coating. So, ito yung axon, ito yung Schwann cell na nag-produce ng myelin, nakapalibot sa kanya. And then the endoneurium is like a layer that would cover your axon. Okay, it's like a sheath. Balot, it's like a sleeve. Okay? So, endo, yun yung pinakamalapit sa per axon. Okay? Peri, it's like a bundle of axons. And then when you say epineurium, it covers your entire peripheral nerve. So as you can see here, the peripheral nerve has several fascicles. Okay? So that's your epineurium, your perineurium, and your endoneurium. And then ito yung sinabi ko kanina, the neurolemma, the sheath of Schwann. It's a thin covering found on peripheral nerves. It's a plasma membrane of your Schwann cell. That's why it's called the sheath of Schwann. Okay? What's the significance again of your sheath of Schwann? It's the one responsible for allowing the nerves, peripheral nerves, to regenerate. Okay? As long as the neurolemma is intact and the pericardium is intact, then yes, the nerve can regenerate. Okay? So that's the basic structure of your peripheral nervous system, particularly your peripheral nerves. You have an epineurium, perineurium, endoneurium, and you have the neurolemma over your sheath, your myelin sheath. Okay. Now, aside from structure of your peripheral nervous system, the peripheral nervous system can also be divided into according to function. Okay. Now, according to function, you have autonomic versus somatic. When you say autonomic, it mostly deals with involuntary actions, while for somatic ones, they're more of the voluntary actions. Okay? Easy. Okay. Now, the peripheral nervous system, we mentioned earlier, it's composed of your cranial nerves. It's composed of your spinal nerves and your other peripheral nerves. Okay? So that's the basic components of your peripheral nerves. Okay? 12 pairs of cranial nerves, 31 pairs of spinal nerve, and you have your peripheral nerves as a continuation of the spinal and your cranial. Okay. So what else? What do I want to share regarding this slide? The peripheral nervous system, you would encounter, as you're reviewing, you would encounter nerve plexuses. Ano ibig sabihin dun? It's just a group of nerves, intersecting with one another. So, in the peripheral nervous system, we have different types of nerve plexuses. We have, again, according to location, based on yung areas na pinag-usapan natin. So, you have cervical, you have brachial, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal. Okay? Cervical, brachial, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal. Those are the different nerve plexuses. And then, ito yung mga corresponding location nila. So, when you say cervical plexus of nerves, it's located in the C1 to C4 area. Okay? And then the area supplied, like cervical portion right here, anterior and lateral regions of the neck, and then your brachial plexus would be right here, your upper limb. So if there's a plexus right here, saan pa rin papunta? Di dyan. Diba? Brachial plexus, hindi papunta sa mga upper limb. Now the lumbar, so lumbar is right here. It's responsible for your pelvis and your lower limb. And then sacral would be somewhere here. And then, of course, coccygeal would be the end of it. Okay. Now, what do you see here? So, ito yung mga sinasabi ko na, di ba sabi natin kanina na nerve plexus, it's like an intersection of nerves. It's a group of nerves. So, basically, these groups of nerves would eventually end up as your peripheral nerve going to your muscles. So, in the under the brachial plexus, eventually, it's gonna turn into your musculocutaneous, your radial nerve, your median nerve, and ulnar nerve. So, same with your lumbar plexus. It'll terminate as obturator, femoral, muscular branches of femoral, and then your saphenous nerves. Okay. So these are arranged according to areas. So cervical, you have your thoracic region right here. You have your lumbar area, and then your coccygeal area. Okay? So, ito yung mga nerves na hindi pa natin masyado na pag-uusapan. Pero ito rin yun. Ito na yung mga terminal. Halos. So, the sciatic nerve comes from your sacral plexus. It's basically for the lower limb. Okay, so that is your peripheral nervous system. In a nutshell. So the peripheral nerves, peripheral nervous system, based on function, it can be autonomic and it can be somatic. We said for autonomic, it's for involuntary actions, somatic for voluntary movements and reflexes. Now, autonomic can be divided further into your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system. Now, the peripheral nerves, according to structure, then you have the presence of your neurolemma, your endoneurium, perineurium, and epineurium, the nerve fascicles. And then the plexuses, you have your cervical, brachial, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal. Those are the different intersecting nerve fibers. Okay, giving supply to certain areas in the body. Okay, that's a marathon. That is a marathon. Now, I'm going to end here. I'm going to end here for today. And I would just like to give you guys an encouragement. I would like to give you guys an encouragement as you study, for your boards, as you take in more and more information each day. This is my encouragement to you guys. It says there in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 16, "For who can know the Lord's thoughts? Who knows enough to teach him? But we understand these things, for we have the mind of Christ." I know for sure that studying for board exam can be so overwhelming. It can be overwhelming that it can lead you to paralysis. I mean, dahil masyadong marami yung tinitake mong information, you'd end up just, giving up, like, ayoko na. It feels like your brain is paralyzed because you can't think any further. And then sometimes it can not just be paralyzing, it can also be intimidating. Because you see things that you have never seen before and you say to yourself, nagre-review na ako para sa board exam, pero bakit parang first time ko lang nakikita lahat ng bagay na to? Diba? So it can be intimidating. It can be overwhelming. There's just too much. there's just too much. So, sabi dyan sa verse niyan, who can know the Lord's thoughts? Who knows enough to teach him? But we understand these things, for we have the mind of Christ. This is one comfort that I had, and I still have hanggang ngayon, when it comes to studying and when it comes to taking exams. One of my prayers would usually be like this. It goes like this. Lord, you're the one who created the mind of etong teacher na to. You're the one who created the mind of this board examiner or kung sino man gumawa ng mga questions na yan. Ikaw, Lord, ang gumawa ng utak nila. So, kung ikaw ang gumawa ng utak nila, alam mo kung ano ang nasa utak nila ngayon. Diba? Logic. So, since you know what they're thinking, and your word says that I have your mind. Sabi siya, diba? But we understand these things, for we have the mind of Christ. So, my logic is, in my prayer is, Lord, alam mo kung anong laman ng utak nila. So, dahil alam mo kung anong laman ng utak nila, ano iniisip nila, anong mga sinulat nila doon sa exam na yun, and I have your mind, so, ibig sabihin, you can also tell me what they know. You can tell me what they included in that exam. So, anong basis ko sa prayer na yun? Ito. We understand these things, for we have the mind of Christ. And even as I review, I mean, coming up with this type of PowerPoint and even the diagrams or the charts, it's not easy. Lahat yan, I've taken them from, yung guide ko when doing these PowerPoints would be First Aid, NBDE, and, well, now I have DEX. So, yun. So imagine all those three, I have to put into one and merge them and make them simple. So I cannot do it on my own. So before I even do them, that's what I do. Like, Lord, you know how I can simplify all these things, and you know how. So teach me. And that's the product of it. So, kayo, kaya nyo rin gawin yun. I mean, hindi naman ako special. I don't believe I'm special. So, if the Lord can do it to me, then He can also do it in your life. See? But the only way that this can be a reality for you is for you to really have the mind of Christ. And the only way for you to have the mind of Christ is if you have a relationship with Him. So, yun yung basis nun. Okay? So, again, sinabi ko na sa inyo to before, whatever I put in here, whatever I'm teaching you guys, it's based on my experience, and it's based on how I study and how I process things. So, yeah, that's just tip in studying. Make it easy. There you go. So hopefully this helped you guys in understanding better your neuroanatomy. We're not even there yet. I mean, those are basics that I have reviewed with you guys. When we go further, then you'd see how complicated it gets. But we'll try as much as possible to make things simple. Okay? So, yeah. The good thing about this is you can review the videos, so you can see the charts, the diagrams. Those are just mind maps. The mind maps are designed for you to have a flow when you're studying, and for you to have a flow when you're studying, and also for recall. Okay? So it's for recall purposes. Kaya I try to make it short And, well, kung kaya pang i-compress, i-compress ko. But yeah, but basically that's it for easy recall. So when you go back to the video and you see the mind map for like the cells that is divided, like you have two types, you have your main neurons and you have your support. And alam mo yun, neat yung information, and then with these types of information neatly stacked in your head, then you can easily retrieve them when the time comes that you're asked the question. Dahil maayos yung pagkakalagay no information, then you're gonna be able to answer at the snap of a finger. You'd be able to answer all those things. All right, so I'll stop here for now. If you guys have questions or clarifications, or sometimes I babble. Totoo yun. So hindi na ako conscious. Maybe those are the times na hinahabol ng words ko yung nasa isip ko. So if may mga clarifications na kailangan, just let me know. And or kung meron ako nasabi na for sure na hindi tama, then call me out. I'm fine with it. All right, so have fun, you guys. Have a great day. Review more. Oh, also, after this one, because we're gonna move into functions. So we're gonna talk about your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. It can be complicated, and I will try to put in, kasi meron akong stuff for path na related dito, pathology, na related sa CNS. But I'm also thinking about introducing pharma already. Okay? Para nandun yung utak nyo. Central nervous system, ano yung anatomy niya, ano yung physiology niya, so ano yung pathology niya, and ano yung sagot na pharma. Okay? So we'll see how it plays out. Alright? So I'll see you guys Thursday. Okay, same time, 10:30. All right, have a great day.